If you know me at all, or you've ever played football with me, you understand how important nutrition and health is to me, which is why 7 years ago, I became a health and nutrition coach and have helped hundreds of people along the way. I also created Tejas Superfood Cafe. Yes, that's right. I'm a professional baker. I've been selling my baked goods for 4 years. I make superfood brownies, apple pies, pumpkin pies, banana chocolate chip, and cinnamon rolls, among other things. Now, the most important thing you have to understand with the things that I make is I use no flours, no gluten, no vegetable oils, nothing that creates inflammation in the gut, which creates inflammation in the body, which is not what we want as athletes. We want to be as inflammation free as possible. If you'd like to try one of my collagen protein packed superfood desserts. Unfortunately, I'm not shipping right now. These are completely fresh foods. They need to be kept in a fridge, kept cold. If you'd like to try it and you're in the central Alberta area, mention this ad, reach out to me. My Facebook page is TJ's Superfood Cafe, and I make them fresh right here at home with the utmost love and care. If you are looking to buy or sell a home in the central Alberta area, please check out Dan Johnson with Coldwell Banker, On Track Realty, and the Pure Realty Group. They service all of central Alberta and will be happy to assist you with all your realty needs. Welcome to Alberta Football Uncensored. I am your host, Tej Johannesson. With me, as always, my co-host, Omari Fraser. We have a special guest on today. I'm going to let Omari take it from here because it is Omari's guest. Obviously, I'll be involved as well in the podcast. But Omari, I'm just going to pass it straight over to you to introduce our guest.
Yes, I'm definitely been looking forward to this, and I know this is going to be for our high school listeners out there, and this has been one now that I've been really looking forward to, and I'm definitely excited to have our guest on here. And just a little backstory here, because me and our guest, I want to hype him up here. We go way back, and especially in a time where we're both playing Colts. This is my first year into the Colts and his third year, and definitely someone where as an 18-year-old coming in and playing the next level and everything, I really looked up to this guy, to where seeing what he was doing to really push himself to the best version of himself. And really want to make sure I give him his flowers here, because I remember my first year really seeing what it took to compete, and then years following that, and see how I was growing, he was growing, and how we always wanted to push ourselves here. And there's many workouts where I was seeing him. I think one time we were, doing lunges in the gym, and I saw him hitting a certain particular way, and I was like, okay, I got to make sure I try and either hit the same or more. And we were just constantly pushing each other and to get the best version of each other. And it definitely blossomed to a great friendship and great competition. We had some great Smash Bros battles and Yu-Gi-Oh and all that. And it was just definitely a blast, just being teammates and everything. And it's been awesome to see him grow and into his position and him follow his pursuits. Nate Kettles, come on. It's a pleasure to welcome you on, and welcome to Alberta Football Uncensored.
Omari, you pumped me up way too much, buddy.
No, it's well deserved for your flowers, and it's been awesome. And I want to let's give the audience here a little intro to your football story and where you're at right now, and what we're gonna be bringing to them.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity, guys, to talk. I always like to give good advice and talk about different opportunities and try to help people. So that's really what it's about. So like they said, my name's Nate Kettles. I'm currently the operations manager and running back coach here at the University of Guelph. But as I'm sure many people know, full-time Canadian football coaches at the university level have to wear a lot of hats. So what I'm really alluding to is, I'm heavily involved with recruiting, especially in Western Canada, just because I'm from out there, as Omari said, and I have a lot of roots out there, coming from a small town, Claresholm, Alberta, believe it or not. And then I was I lived in Calgary. What's that?
The Cobras, Willow Creek.
Heck yeah, I'm a proud alum.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I coach H.A. Cody in Sylvan Lake, Nate, and we went up and played them in an exhibition game this year. Went up to the Snake Pit.
Heck yeah. Yeah, no,
that's great.
That's
great
a
program.
long time ago now.
Great program. Yeah.
But no, yeah. So I grew up there, and then lived in Calgary for 10 years, played for the University of Calgary, and then joined their staff in 2017 in a part-time role, and kind of slowly worked my way up through there. And then in 2022, I was lucky enough to get offered a full-time job here at the University of Guelph. So I've just been here for the last two football seasons. So kind of a long-winded little intro there, but I just wanted to give everyone some context.
No, that
That's
was perfect.
that's awesome. And let's dive right into a bit with your story and everything, because I feel like this is going to help intertwine to what we're going to do. Because for all of our high school players, we wanted this to now be. We talked a lot about the regular season, the playoffs, and now for all those seniors, they're in their recruiting season. They're in that phase where, like, hey, you're done high school, and if for those who want to pursue football after, now's the time. And you know, coming from, here's one I want to tie to you. Coming from the small town and coming to, knowing that you want to play football after, what were some things that, you being 18 coming into football after high school, were you really looking out for and knew that you had to do to be stand out?
Well, I mean, obviously, when I was coming out, times were a little different. Like Huddle didn't exist yet, so the only chance people really had of making tape was doing it themselves, putting it on YouTube, kind of a thing. So obviously, I was one of those guys that like made sure teachers were filming our game, and then I had to go into the computer lab late and make my own tape. It's not like that anymore. In some places anyway. But no, it's definitely hard coming from a small town. There's not a lot of exposure. You know, there's no easy answer. You got to just try to get yourself out there. Never be ashamed to put out your tape, to email coaches. Like, you never know what's going to stick and what's going to hit. So like, I always am baffled to hear when guys were just like say things like, "Oh, like I didn't know to contact." It's like, no, have no shame. Reach out to everybody, because the worst thing you're ever gonna hear is nothing or no, and then you're still where you were anyway. So that's the way I kind of approach talking, especially to small town guys. Go to everything, go to as many camps as you can. All the like, you never know where someone's gonna be watching. You know what I mean?
I think that's fantastic advice. I have player that I coached named Brett Bilsma, and he actually plays with me in the AFL now. We played last year together, so it was kind of cool. I coached him and then played with him. But he's kind of a kid that I've been really trying to push to go to the next level, because he's quite a talent, and he never. He's a quarterback, but he can kind of do a bunch of different things. But he's kind of a shy kid, and he's just kind of nervous to like put it out there. And I kind of been telling him, like, just email everybody, every junior college, throw out 100 different emails with your film, because like you said, Nate, you just don't know what's going to stick. You don't know who's going to be in a mood to watch some tape one day, and you just pop off. So I feel like we kind of, especially in today's society, instant gratification and hard to hear critique and stuff, we're almost a little bit scared of failure. And I try to preach to my kids all the time. I mean, what is life if you're not failing at something, right? What's the purpose? Imagine if you just woke up and you just were perfect at everything. Like, how boring would life be at that point, right? Failures are part of the joy of life. And I think people need to just do it. I heard a podcast a long time ago, and the guy was like, I wanted to get used to hearing people say no to me, because I was so uncomfortable with people saying no to me. So he just went out to like restaurants and like stores and was like, "Can I have this for free? Can I have this for free?" Just so he could have people say no. And I found that to be quite powerful. So sorry to interrupt there, but I thought that's a great point of just put it out there.
Well, and that's a great point too. And the other thing is, you can't go off of your friends and teammates either, because different guys are going to get recruited at different times. And just because one guy might be getting talked to earlier does not mean that you've missed the boat. I mean, obviously there's kind of hot times in the year. A lot of recruits start to get reached out to in during their season, you know what I mean? And then stuff really turns up November, December, January. But like every single year, there's always a story of a kid who joins on the roster late, May, June, just because something happened and there was some situation and a spot opened up. So you never really know like when it's going to happen. So I tell kids to be patient and not be discouraged, because just because you're not getting recruited today doesn't mean you're not going to get tomorrow. And the other thing is too, like, a lot of coaches will stockpile tape and stockpile guys, and they'll watch it, but they will only reply, in the time when they think that they actually might have an opportunity. So just because your guys aren't hearing anything back, that doesn't mean that the exposure isn't happening and that people aren't watching your tape. It's just, as you can imagine, we get a lot of tapes in a day, especially this time of year. So it's hard to get back and reply to every single one. And then sometimes we might not even know. Like, we might be waiting on a senior on our team who is waiting to see if he's going to come back for a fifth year. And then all of a sudden the domino effect, then a spot opens up. So there's so much behind the scenes that people don't realize. And everyone is different, and every opportunity is different.
That's huge to hear, because I feel like a lot of players think like, okay, like I'm going to reach out and they're going to get back to me, but like the team also has its inner workings to work through, because you got to think as well for universities and junior programs, and I'm sure, like, well, because you guys also had some players go to the CFL draft and have CFL opportunities, right?
Every year.
So I'm sure like your decision is going to be based off another person's decision, and it's a very special moment for them, and you want to respect that for them, and as well, so it's a balancing act of bringing in new talent, but as well letting the guys who have been there for a while take the opportunity and enjoy their moment of potentially going pro. One thing that I think as a first, I guess, a little value add here for a lot of people is like, what is the best way for someone in high school or a senior to organize their highlight tape? Because right now, I feel like highlight tapes people like to put together some highlight tapes that are like, first minute is like all these pictures and like them getting ready for the game, and like I call them more like flash tapes because they're just trying to be flashy. Yet it's like a 2 minutes into before they start seeing the plays, and it's fair to say, like you said, you get a lot of tapes. How do you like them? I guess how does like, from your experience, university coaches like their tape? Because I bet you it's probably a much different from what people are putting out there.
No, it's funny you asked that, because there's actually been some trends I've been noticing that aren't really my favorite thing. So I know I'm happy to answer this. I'll start on like the huddle perspective first. So obviously, guys who are listening to this podcast would know about the website Huddle. A lot of high schools have Huddle and post all their tape on there, and then kids are able to go on there, pull their own clips, and make their own highlight tapes. Now there's a few things we kind of look for. I do like an opening slide where it's just first name, last name, and then the best way to contact you, whether it's an email or a phone number. Sometimes I'll come across, because we don't just go through tapes we get sent. As recruiters, it's our job to go out and find the best players. I can't tell you how much I'll come across a Huddle tape, think it's really awesome, and there's nothing on the Huddle account for me to reach out. There's no email, no cell phone, nothing. And I'm just so I'm scrambling. I'm trying to call a head coach. So I feel like it's a pretty easy ad to put that information on the start of your film. The other thing is, the one thing that is not my favorite is when people just have a highlight saved of every single game they play, and then each tape is like 40 seconds long or whatever it is. Just make a mid-season tape and a final season tape. That's all you really need. It's all you really need. Whether it's like a 4-game mid-season, 5-game mid-season, and then at the end, just make an amalgamation postseason tape. That's what we want to watch.
Okay.
It's annoying to go through, and look at each individual games. We just don't have the time. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, and with that too. So that's good to know for like a mid-season and end of the season.
Yeah.
And then how, as it goes for structure,
Yeah.
say say you got, I don't know, 20, say out of all the plays they got, out of all the 600 plays they've played,
Mhm.
they get their 20, 40 highlights. How would you best organize them?
The truth is you want to put all your best plays at the start. You know, we will never watch a highlight tape, no matter how good it is, for longer than about 4 or 5 minutes. Um, all you really need is all your best plays at the start of the tape. And then from there, that's really what's going to hook a coach to dive in and watch the rest. The long touchdowns, the big tackles where you run. As recruiters, like, we want to see guys running on their tape, running an open field, making those big blocks, those big catches. We still are football fans at heart. Like, great plays are great plays, and they're fun to watch. So that's really what'll hook a coach like myself, and then from there, it's you dive into the substance a little bit deeper and really dive into what the tape is. And reality, it doesn't need to be complicated. Have it at the start, have a little circle or a little arrow pointing to yourself at the start of the play, and then run the play. The one thing I've been noticing is, like, people are putting these slides in between every single clip. That's like big sack, or like it's just point where you are and play it. The other thing is, one thing I've been noticing is, like, a bunch of the play will go by, and then they'll point to themselves, like, right before they're gonna, like, make a tackle. We want to see guys from the start of the snap. So point
Mm.
yourself out at the start of the snap. Couple other tips just to add on. Do not put slow-mo in your video. Don't do it. We don't want to see it. Don't put slow-mo in your video. The other thing is, this is a bit of a trend I've been noticing, and I'm just going to give a little warning out. It is very noticeable to a coach when you've sped up your video by like a couple percent, which has been
Oh, like
happening.
to make yourself look faster?
Yeah, it is very, very noticeable. Like,
Wow.
man, I tell you what, there's been a few refs this year I've seen on film running 4.
Oh, no. That's,
So
you know what? That is crazy. So I'm like you, Nate. When I went to high school, there was no huddle. We were lucky if we had film on games, and no HD, right? So it's like you can't even see people's numbers. So man, kids have it easy these days. But like I mean, my wife's a teacher, and so kids are using AI to write their essays and all this stuff, right? And I'm kind of disappointed that it's made its way to highlight tapes. Because here's the thing, okay, this is what I don't understand, and this kind of frustrates me. Why would you want to why would you want to be worse in person than on your tape? Because if you make yourself faster than you are on the tape, and then you show up to camp, they're going to be like, this guy didn't put any work in. He's slower than he was in high school. So like, it makes no sense. Okay, it might get you there, but then when you're there, they just think you're lazy or that all of a sudden you suck. So I don't even understand like the thought process behind that, but stop doing that.
well, it just makes us question a potential recruit's integrity, right?
Yeah.
Because it's super easy to see. Like, the amount of tapes we watch, we know how fast people clap. Like, we know when people jump up and down on the sideline, they don't look like they're on a pogo stick. Like, anyway, but
That's actually funny. I could just imagine you like coaches sitting in coaches room and be like, why do they look like they're clapping in from like because like you'll see that in like 1950s videos because
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
they've altered
That's
them
what it
so
looks like.
everyone's like they're clapping at like way faster than normal. That's what it looks like. Yeah, that's funny.
So,
I did want to just to kind of sum it up, I think there's some fantastic information there. I wish I would have known that back in the day. But so big thing for you is leave the unnecessary information out, right? So like the big sack, because you guys don't need to be told what you're looking at. You obviously know what you're looking at.
yeah, it's like,
And
yeah,
then pointing yourself at the start of the play. And I think that is a huge one because even when I watch my friends' highlight tapes, I hate it when it's like right before the end of the plays because I'm like, what am I watching? What am I like? I want to kind of know a little bit. So I think that's important. And then if you do you have a checklist for things like outside of, because obviously everyone that makes a highlight, it's like if I give a reference, I'm assuming that person's probably going to give me a good reference. I would hope. If you make a highlight tape, I mean, most players can find a few plays that they was really good. is there stuff? Obviously there is, but what are the things, the little things that you look for when you're watching film outside of the one-handed catches, the big runs? What's kind of the intangibles that you look for on film?
No, that's a great question. And a word that's used a lot that I think deserves a little more context is just athleticism. Um,
Hmm.
you know, one common thing that people don't understand when we're looking at tape, we're not trying to find the best high school football players. We're trying to find the best football players when they're 20, 21, 22 years old.
Hmm.
So sometimes people get confused and they're like, "How come you're not recruiting me? I had 20 touchdowns this year." It's like, "Yeah, but your competition's really not that great and your top end speed isn't there." And like
Hmm.
there's all these things that go into it. So we look for athletes who have high levels of natural athleticism, or obviously guys that are trained, you know, open field speed where they're running by everybody else, um, closing speed from defensive players, people catching people from behind. Um, even if we're looking at a receiver, guys in their waggle that are just pulling away and running away from the rest of the people on the field. So we look for things like that. If I'm looking at line, we're looking at get off. We're looking at how you're coming off the ball, how aggressive you are. There's a lot of real big O linemen who just kind of stand there. And then there's the top end guys that finish every play. Pursuit is huge. I recruited a D lineman today, actually. We had a visit, and the one of the main reasons we invited him is because on his highlight tape, he was a nose tackle. He had like 7 plays where he chased like receivers and running backs down the field to tackle them.
Yeah,
And those are like
that
that's not
stands out.
pursuit.
Yeah.
Like that's just mentality. So those are a bunch of kind of different little things. We're looking for guys that we think we can coach and develop in our program to
Hmm.
become, that next pro, that next all Canadian.
Hmm.
So that's really what it is. Even if a guy's only been playing football for maybe a year or two, that might be a better recruit maybe than a guy who's been playing since he was 8, but maybe we just don't see the same ceiling.
Yeah, and maybe speak a little bit too on, because you've kind of been in this, and obviously, you're kind of going through your football process and football career and learning a lot of stuff, obviously, from people that you're around. What when you're like when you're looking at film and trying to find guys that are going to fit your program, how do you tell, like you kind of talked about a little bit, like coachable? I want kids that I can coach. How do you tell on film? Like, is there a way that you can tell on film? And I'm saying this, I guess I should preface it. I'm saying this for, for myself and for guys that I coach, because I want to be able to pass this message on to them, when we're in practice and we're in the film room, like, look, this is the stuff to look for. Is there something that you look for, and how difficult is it to really pinpoint that stuff on a short little film?
It is hard to kind of find some of those intangibles. I think one of the ones, like I mentioned before, is like long pursuit plays by defensive players.
Mhm.
Like that is like an all effort kind of a play. When receivers put in a lot of blocking tape, I really respect
Yeah.
that. Like I really love seeing a receiver highlight tape where every third or fourth play is like a pancake block. Like that
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Um, and when guys put in special teams tape, especially offensive players, like if a running back or a receiver is putting in on a clip of him rolling down on kickoff and smoking a guy, well, like that's a whole nother factor. It's like, okay, another check. Like this guy's tough. So,
Mhm.
but I think, those are some of the little things. I think the big one is if a guy's tape pops and we really see he has potential, like we try to get a hold of that guy right away for like just a follow-up phone call. I
Mhm.
prefer just a quick phone call or a quick message just to reach out and start to see and then start to do that character assessment in some of those like initial conversations. Um,
Yeah.
that's where the majority of that, does a guy get back to me right away when I message him? Does he show interested? How is he talking to me? And then all of a sudden we could go on and on about learning about a kid and what drives them and potential fits for a program. And we could go on forever about that. But yeah, I think, initially you were just looking for simplicity, guys that are tough, guys that run hard, guys that run fast, and guys that want to learn. And, you know, you'd think there's a ton, but it is hard. You got to be really selective because it's a big, I just wanted to plug this. It's a big investment to recruit a
Hmm.
player. It's a big
Hmm.
investment by a university team because, think about what 5 years of coaching and training and locker room and athletic therapy and food, like, that adds up, right? So we
Yeah.
don't just hand that out on a whim. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that's I think that's important to note. And I think, just going back to one of the things you said there was like watching receivers who put in blocking tape. I celebrate my players probably the most when I see people blocking, because I think just intrinsically to me, blocking is such a selfless act. And if you're and you'll see, and everyone knows these guys, everyone knows the guys that don't block. And you see the guys that do block, and there's a different sort of personality with those guys. Like, I feel like you can go to war with those guys. I feel like they're going to have their teammates back because they know that the only people that notice they're blocking are their own teammates and their coaches. Nobody else is paying attention. That everyone else is watching the ball carrier. And so I think I love dudes. And as a corner, I hate dudes that block. So I know that, it's a good thing to do. I hate getting blocked every play when it's not even coming my way. But those are the guys that I just think you just know something about them just because they're willing to do that, because you know that is a completely selfless act. So I think those things are cool. And I don't think those are probably put on enough on film. Go ahead, Omari.
Yeah, and then I guess this is my one question here that will tie into, I guess, our next part here on the school side. What are your thoughts on having a player have their GPA, be part of that title card when it comes to their contact info and that tie into school?
I mean, I don't mind when guys put their GPA on, especially if they're very, very good. I think it eases a lot of, it can ease a lot of question mark. Like, any guy we recruit, they need to be able to get into university. So if a guy on his title card is putting, like, 4.0 GPA, that's a nice green flag. That's a check mark. Obviously we're always going to do our due diligence and, are you in the right classes and, so on and so forth. But yeah, no, I'm huge on that. It's just a nice check mark that I don't have to go searching for then.
Nice. And to really transition now into next topic, school, because
Mhm.
to be that student athlete here in Canada and the States, schooling is a part of it. Especially at the university level. I know with junior, it can be just football, but university now, there's that side of schooling and getting to school. And of course, all the players have heard get good grades and all that. But I think you touched on it too, the particular classes they would need to get into university.
Mhm. What I tell guys when I can is like, when it really starts to get serious and when you really got to start paying attention is when you're in grade 11. I highly advise anybody I talk to, if I'm recruiting a guy early, you got to look at programs that you want to do in university and start to think about it to make sure that you are aligning yourself in sort of your high school schedule to take the right classes to get into those programs. Like, I can't tell you how many times we've we've recruited a guy a little bit late in the process and we really like his tape, and then it's like, "Oh, he didn't do the right English. He's gotta do a summer school." He's like, and it's hard. It's not fair. Not every kid around the country is getting the same advising at their high school. They get put in different streams when they're in grade 9 before they're even thinking about it. So there is a bit of a, it's not fair and not even sometimes, but man, if anyone's listening to this and you're in high school, like, you align yourself in grade 11, start and just make sure you're on the right path so that you can get into whatever you're interested in. And, you're in the right English course and you're taking enough, you know, grade 12s. Every university is different for what the requirements are, but, like, I can't tell you, you don't want to be a guy that has to lose a year, because you got to upgrade. And then who knows if that same opportunity is going to be there.
Mhm. And yeah, that's huge because I think the most common one, I believe, is that most universities across Canada need English dash 30.
Yeah, so it's called different things in different provinces. I know in Alberta, it's English 30-1.
Mhm.
That's what grade 12 English is. You can't get into University of Guelph in any program without taking English 30-1, period. It doesn't matter. So, you know, and that's pretty common for whatever that is labeled at different provinces around the country. It's kind of a minimum, and then obviously depending on different programs, they'll have other requirements with different percentages and things like that. And but but you just got to look, like you got to do the due diligence and check and make sure. And if something's not right, like you got to advocate for yourself. There was a kid I was talking to out of Windsor, and he kind of got put in sort of the college trade stream when he was in grade 9. And then in grade 11, like he realized he was a pretty, kick ass football player. So he had to advocate and go in himself and said, "Hey, I need to change. Put me in these classes. I can do them. I want to play university football." And, that was a feel good story that worked out in the end. But, had he not done that, he would have been a guy that when he graduated high school, like it wouldn't have mattered. He just, you know, so
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, that's important to hear there. And I feel like we'll be short and sweet with this topic, unless TJ have something to add to it. But get your grades for all the high school players who are listening here, and for all the coaches. It's something where I'm sure we beat that we beat that horse enough to them, and it's one thing where I'm sure kids will hear oftentimes enough. But yeah, TJ, anything you want to add to that before we move on to the next part?
No, my wife teaches English 30-1. So if anyone wants a tutor, it's $1,000 an hour. It's going to go all to me. Nate, I do want to ask you, well, first of all, I guess I'll go this first. Talk to us a little bit about Guelph. Kind of the program there, the school there, where it is. I'm sure some of us have heard about them, but just kind of talk to us a little bit about the school.
Yeah, no, I'd love to. So, Guelph, Ontario is located about an hour south drive from downtown Toronto, just off the highway. Uh, there's about 140,000 people that live in Guelph. So, it would be considered like a kind of a small city.
Says
But
Red Deer.
yeah, besides Red Deer, Okotoks, it
Yeah.
reminds me of. And so, um, but yeah, it really is a university town in the sense, but it's the best of both worlds. Like we have a bus that leaves from the university in the morning on the weekends, goes to Toronto, and then comes right back at night. So guys can go to downtown Toronto just on the bus, if they want to. It's kind of a best of both worlds. I think one thing that's nice about Guelph and the University of Guelph is like we're kind of the biggest show in town in the sense that like it's us for major sports teams, and then the OHL hockey team. So we do have a ton of community support. People know who you are when you go and you're on the football team and you're downtown or you're walking around the university. Like people know who you are, and that can be enticing for people. You're not just a number in that sense. But no, I mean,
Mm.
yeah, I could go on about the University of Guelph. Like, what are some specific things you guys kind of are wondering about the program?
Well, first of all, what brought you there? Like, how did you end up down there from Willow Creek, Cobras and Clare's home, which is basically a town that people maybe know from passing on the way to Lethbridge, to Guelph? How did you get down there?
Yeah, so I think, my journey with football and coaching football started at the University of Calgary. You know I worked very hard as a player. I take a lot of pride in that. Um, at the
Right
University of
away,
Calgary.
you were right at University of Calgary, like your first coaching job, or already at the University of Calgary. That's impressive.
Yeah, well, yes and no. There's a little context behind that. So, like, obviously, I worked very hard as a player, and then as soon as I was done as a player at University of Calgary, um, like I had done coaching in the off season as a player in like different high school all-star games and like volunteering at senior bowl tryouts and like guest coaching at high schools. I kind of did that even as a player. But then when my playing career ended at U of C, I got flooded with like a lot of different offers to coach different places, which I was very grateful for. Like, and I'm talking about at the high school level. Like I got offered to join a bunch of different high school coaching staffs, and then one of the major ones that I want to talk about is like I got offered to be the running back coach for the Calgary Colts right away out of
Mm.
out of being a player. Um, but what's interesting is that U of C didn't offer me to be a coach. Like when I was done being a player, they offered me to be the assistant video filmer. And so
Okay.
my coaching career really
Yes.
started just like doing video and not coaching at all. Um, and what's interesting about that is that, like, yeah, I wanted to be a coach and like do that stuff right away, but I also understood the long goal of where I wanted to end up. And I really took an approach of I want to insert myself in the place I want to be and I'll work my way up. So that's what I did at University of Calgary. And then as year and year went by, I garnered more and more responsibility. But like, I think it's important to talk about because a lot of people would have just like been like, "Oh, I want to coach. I'm going to go coach." Where I kind of played it differently. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know if that is strikes you, but that is just something I thought a lot about, and it was a hard choice, like in the beginning, because I was like, I'm just a video guy, but like I
Yeah.
looked at it like Brett Monson, one of the main coaches with the Stampeders, like he started as a video guy too.
Yeah.
So anyway, it worked out in the long run, and I'm really grateful for the path I took.
Hey,
Um,
so did Eric Spoelstra, man. Miami Heat head coach, video guy at first, man. Like people that's another thing. That's kind of like blocking though. Like Sin says, like people willing to do the work that maybe, you feel kind of like, oh, I'm not feeling appreciated enough, but like and you learn a lot. So no, I got a lot of respect for that. That's cool.
yeah, and I'm super grateful too for the coaches at Calgary at that time. Like that did offer me an opportunity right away. Like they didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Um, so I was really grateful for that, and I have a lot of respect for all those people, because it was a passion of mine then, and more so now. Sometimes times get tough a little bit, but like I always like I can never complain because like I get to work doing this. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and I don't take it for granted for 1 second. So
Yeah. And so, sorry. And then from Calgary, you went to Guelph?
yeah, sorry, yeah, we got off on a tangent there. So
Yeah.
essentially,
No, that's okay.
I worked my way up as a coach at Calgary, became a position coach. I had a job at the time. I was a teacher, so I taught high school for a little while after I graduated university there in Calgary. Taught high school biology, a few different things. But then what happened was, this is a cool story actually. So right before the 2022 season, it was like July 30th, and I got a call from the head coach that was here at the time, Ryan Shan, and he called me and he said, "Hey, I want to offer you a job. You got 3 days to decide. Training camp starts in 10 days." And
Okay.
I was teaching at the time, and I was kind of gearing up to be on the Dino staff again for another year, kind of a thing, and it was a hard, really really hard choice because basically I had to decide to just pack up my whole life and drive out there in my car where I didn't really know anybody except, for the head coach who offered me the gig and a couple other coaches on staff. And so, um, yeah, I just decided to bet on myself and I just went for it. So, and I've been here ever since. I wouldn't regret a single thing. So
Yeah, and
that's the
that's
other thing.
amazing.
You got to jump
Yeah,
on
go ahead.
opportunities when they arise.
Hmm. Yeah, and I was just going to say that because with the same thing we were talking about before with the, just sending out those emails, right? Just kind of like you said, betting on yourself and just doing it and not being afraid of rejection, not being afraid of the what ifs and the failures, because you know what? That's just, if you don't do it, then you've already failed. So you might as
Yeah.
well at least go try.
I never thought for 1 second that I was going to end up, being a football coach in Ontario. Like I never would have
Yeah.
thought that. Like I was like gearing up and prepared to, I'm an Alberta guy.
Yeah.
Um,
You
But
are an Alberta guy from Claresholm. Like you
yeah,
are, yeah.
like small town, like how we doing?
Yeah.
Like let's get some
Yeah.
7-Eleven chicken on the way. Like
Yeah. 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 That's the
so
luxury.
yeah. So no, I'm a little more right wing than a lot of people here. We don't need to get into that. But
No, hey, man, we're all kind of going that way these days, it seems.
What?
no, it's been great, honestly. And yeah, so I got offered the job, I took it, and yeah, I've been working here in Guelph ever since. I live right by the stadium. Um, yeah, and it's my full-time gig. So um, I everyone's been really welcoming here. It really is a community atmosphere, and like for example, like the athletic director here was helping me try to find a place to live like right away, and
Yeah.
a bunch of different things. So, and it really just shows that like no matter what situation you're in, because the only reason I got offered the job was because the head coach who was here at that time knew me only when I was a video coordinator, like back in
Hmm.
2017. So,
Hmm.
like you never really know who you're going to impress, and there's that classic saying like even if you're not doing the job you necessarily want to do in that moment, like you should still try to do it to the best of your ability
Yeah.
because you never know, you know.
Yeah. You never know who's watching. Yeah, and that's perfect. And I don't, for me, I'm kind of wired that way. It's kind of sometimes a little gift is and a curse. Sometimes I'm a little too competitive, maybe, but it's just the way that I'm wired. I want to be kind of the best at everything I do. At least the best version of me in everything I do. And I think the best athletes, the ones that make it the furthest, it's just intrinsically in them. Well, let me ask you, because we're going to try we want to use this to kind of, you know, help sell Guelph a little bit. I
Yeah.
like the small town kind of feel. What is your fate? Like, just if you, like, first thing that pops head, you moved there. What has been your favorite part of the town itself?
Well, the thing about Guelph is like it's a beautiful city. I think the community feel and just the people are what make it special. Like I know all the different people in the entire athletic department because they come by and introduce themselves and say hi right when I moved there. And we know all the people in registration and all the different head coaches of all the different teams at Guelph. We meet every month and like share ideas and different things. I think for me, like one of the best part about working here is just to be able to like kind of coach, in this environment. We have great facilities here, like
Hmm.
top notch, great place to work, great weight room, great locker room. It makes it a pretty easy place to try to show to potential athletes, and it makes things really easy to be able to work as well because like all the things I ever need as a coach are right here at my fingertips. And it's an elite focus by the whole department to just allow us to do our jobs. So that's something that I really enjoy the most is that we have all the resources. So I'm just able to coach without having to worry about like, you know, why don't I have footballs? Why don't I have,
Yeah.
simple things? It's just all right here. So we're super, super lucky here.
Yeah, I think that's a big one for players is like that, the facilities. I know for me, that's a big thing. It's nice. It's nice. Like you like to come to a facility where you're comfortable, you're not cramped, it's not too like weirdly hot and smelly in the locker rooms. Like it's nice, it sounds kind of first world probably, but the reality is it's nice. It's nice to have those things. So I think that's important. Sorry, go ahead, Omar.
No, you're all good. That's nice to hear, and you know, especially as recruits coming out, you want to see a place that's got resources. So that's awesome to see. And you know, one thing I want to touch on now on the, I guess, getting back to the recruiting side is like when it comes to visits,
Mm.
and everything now, because I know me and you've had some conversations on like different players and how you guys had to visit out and everything, but what needs to happen, because I also feel like there's the youth sports side of this as well. But what's needed for a player to get a visit from Guelph, and then if that doesn't happen, can they make the effort to go to Guelph?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. There's a lot of, I think, bad information about visits. So essentially what we save, so there's unofficial visits and official visits. Have you guys talked about that before?
No, and I don't believe it's been talked. I've heard of it, but it has been touched on this podcast. So for those who are listening in, like this will be the first time they hear it.
No, that's great. So an unofficial visit, anyone can do at any time. So anybody on their own dime can drive up to the University of Guelph, come see our facilities. I'd love to give them a tour, can sit down and ask us questions. Like that can happen at any time. That's an unofficial visit. You come drive yourself. We can show you around. We can't buy anything for an athlete on an unofficial visit. We can't take them for lunch. We can't anything that would be considered like something that would be paid for. That the like we can't. That's an unofficial visit. Official visits are different. So official visits are an investment by the team in a potential athlete where we put them up in the hotel. You know, we they have meals with the coaching staff and with players. You know, they can do things with the team like they can work out and you know do things that would be considered a service. And that is where we really try to show, you know, a true snapshot of what it's like to be a Guelph Griffin in like a short 3-day span, you know. And not everyone gets an official visit. We, in our recruiting boards, you know, we have rankings and different players at different positions, and we kind of go through, you know, and we decide who we're going to give those official visits to because it's a big investment, and oftentimes we give them to players who are out of province. So now we're talking of plane ticket that the team costs to cover, you know, and we have a certain, you know, a budget of everything that exists before the recruiting season starts. So we kind of know, you know, how many guys we can bring in total. So, you know, we decide player by player basis, you know, who we bring in and give those official visits to.
Nice, and um, that's awesome to hear. So it's not like the states where players will go to school and get a under the like a full envelope of 1 million, $2 million like these NIL deals.
No, no NIL deals here, but again, you know, there is a lot that we can do for players, and it's not like there is an opportunity and there's not support. You know, one thing, for example, and we do this with every single guy we recruit. We'll go through all of the available bursaries that are available for like for any student applying for the university, but we have them all amalgamated on a list, and we help every guy we recruit and see if they are eligible for any bursary from the school, and we do that for all our guys. So, you know, there's always support kind of available and around, and we'll do everything we can to try to help our guys.
Yeah, and then that's something too, especially as a student. I remember my time as a student, like I was always trying to apply for scholarships and any kind of funding. Like, I was fortunate to where in my later years of Colts, I was able to get some scholarship funding, which is nice. But that's definitely an avenue to use and to use. Um, here, I want to pick your brains here. What are your thoughts here on the NIL deals and money that happen in the States? And do you think that's ever something that could happen in Canada?
That's a funny question. NIL deals are legal in Canada. They always have been. Not a lot of people know that. There's just the market's not the same. And so, you know, obviously in the States, I support it. It's the way it has to be. I mean, NCAA Division One football, it is pro football. It's what it has become, and the amount of money that those teams are bringing into their institutions, like it is important that those athletes are getting, you know, rightfully what they deserve, a small chunk. You know, in Canada, it's a little bit different. Like we actually one of our running backs was just in a home hardware commercial the other day. Like these things do happen. Um, but it's a different market. And I think that, I think in Canada, we're slowly, it's slowly catching up in a lot of different ways. You know, I think that, you know, the league U Sports, you know, hopefully gets some better coverage and more people watch it and more people know about it and more people go to the games. Like that is what will increase some of the opportunities and recognition for some of these youth sports athletes, where now their name and their image and likeness is worth some dollars. So
That would be real. As you need to know that in Canada it is legal. So really now it's just a matter where we got to get our, I guess, everyone, our companies and corporations, and get all our ducks in a row, and hopefully have some Canadian version of this, because that'd be really something that would help, I guess, even the playing fields of recruiting. Because when you look at the States, everyone wants to go to the States, but it'd be cool to where athletes could, go to Canadian universities and have some NIL money and have it be maybe 10K a year or something like that, where it's just like, oh, like we're gonna put you on commercials or on the cereal boxes or whatever works out, but it can help offload that.
Especially in like a small town like Guelph, like when you say your running back's on a home hardware commercial. Well, that, like you said, all these players are known in the community, so that can pull a lot of weight, right? And that is cool that's a thing, and that your running back's taking advantage of that. Good for him.
And
yeah, I mean, we any guy can in Canada at any university can go out and get a sponsor and all these sorts of things. It's just not common. It's just not part of the culture at this point anyway. But who knows how things are going to change? I mean, there's a lot of people that can advocate for themselves more than ever, on social media and things like that. So there could be a player come along one of these days that does take advantage and gets his name and face out there.
Yeah, well, especially a player that may be, especially like teenagers these days. Some of these guys have, thousands and thousands of followers on social media, right? You go to a company and say, I play university football here. You go to whatever, local sports store. I play university football. I got 10,000 followers on Instagram, and half of them are football players, so. A lot of opportunities, I think, out there for stuff like that. If people are willing to be creative and do it, and now maybe this podcast will launch it. Omari, maybe we should become agents. If you would like to be possibly look into your nil, Omari and I are ready to work at your service. Omari is a financial guy, so we can help you out.
we can set something up, because I'm here thinking, I'm like, and we're just legal, and I'm like, I've been hearing these ideas and everything. I'm okay, and like I was about to mention, T's like, is that the way now that in the AFL we pay players through NIL? Because Nate, one thing too, Nate, you also played in one game in the AFL. I know Aaron got you to play for one game for the Wolfpack and everything. So I know you're quite familiar with the AFL, but is that a thing now where, is that the loophole that we need for the AFL? We need NIL money.
Hey, if someone's willing to watch,
Yeah,
no,
that's
the live
exactly
hasn't
it.
picking up, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's opportunity there. You played in the AFL, Nate. That's great to hear. Love to hear it.
One game. I did one game. I told my buddy that I would only play in one game if they were truly short, and that if I didn't play, they wouldn't be able to do the game. And I never actually thought it would happen. And then, anyway, next thing you know, I'm on a bus to Cold Lake.
What? Oh my god! Wait, when was that? It must have been recent, because Cold Lake's recent too. That
was in that would have been in the summer of that was right before I left. So that was in like the summer of the 2022 season or something.
Wait, that's when I played the Pack, but I didn't go to Cold Lake that year I wasn't there yet. I don't think
it was
that
the
season game.
I think it was the season after COVID 2021, because
okay.
It was a game that I couldn't go to, and I believe you were my.
No one could. Yeah.
Not
only did you play one game, you went to Cold Lake to play that one game. It's not like you just stuck around in Calgary too. You're like on a bus to Cold Lake. You're like, who are these people and what am I doing? And do I have insurance? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, I tell everybody that every football coach has one play left in them. Just one.
Believe it. Oh, that's a good story. That's good. Well, Calgary Wolfpack alumni. It's official.
We just need that one. They
gotta have there's got to be an NFC team near Guelph. There's GTA.
Yeah,
you could go play for GTA, Nate. You've watched them play. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's a good. They have a good football team down there in GTA. Just won the national championship this year. So
Yeah, they've played some games at our stadium.
okay, wait. What's your stadium? Are you Terry Fox?
No, our stadium's called Alumni Stadium
Oh, okay.
in
Okay,
Guelph.
I know okay, gotcha.
What one question I got, because this is not something where we've had, like, especially coming out of COVID, there's been like some roster realignments. I know from university to junior and high school players, some players getting extra years and roster cuts and all that. There's some high level players who've been playing in the AFL who have university eligibility. Because I know this is one player who got All Star. I know you were DMing me about him, and I know there's been a couple others who want to explore university options. What would you say from the men's aspect, and if they have eligibility to move forward? What would you say are the best route for them to go to explore that university opportunity or move on from men's if they have that opportunity, but say life doesn't work out for them to play right away? How would you suggest they move forward?
Well, I think obviously anybody that's playing in men's league football is going to be pretty off the radar of a lot of university recruiters. So I think what it would really take is a little bit of a detailed message with your tape of your film and your situation. You know, how old you are, you know, did you play any university football? How many years do you have left? And those sorts of things. You know, if we're bringing in somebody that is a little bit older, obviously that expectation is going to be a lot higher in the sense that like anybody that we take on that's been playing like another, like whether it's men's league or like even like JUCO, like the expectations pretty high that we would be bringing in a player that would be ready to contribute on the field right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, because, there's not a lot of room left for someone who's 23, 24, 25 to grow a lot. Like there's just not as much of a ceiling, because people are adults as compared to obviously when you're recruiting someone who's 17 years old. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's really the only thing I would say is put your tape together, send it out, make sure that you are able to get into university. And then, you just never know. You never know because now there's no more age cap. It used to be that U Sports was age capped at 25. That does not exist anymore. So you could be any
Wait,
age.
so Nate, you're telling me that at 36 years old, I can come and play university football?
Yeah. As long as you have eligibility left. And
I played junior. I wasn't, my wife, very smart woman, great in school. I went to school for football and girls, so her grades aren't quite there. But by the way, I know there's a lot of kids listening to this podcast now. I do not suggest that. I regret being that way in high school. Okay, I had my own issues. I've grown a lot since then. But hey, I'm still a damn good football player, Nate. And if you're telling me I can come play university football, I might think about it a little bit.
well, here's the thing. It's been like that in the NCAA always. You see those stories of those like kickers who are like 40 years old on NCAA.
I can kick too, Nate. I'm a kicker as well. Not as good. I'm a guy. I'm a corner and a receiver who kicks. I'm not a kicker, but
Well, hey,
but yeah, I didn't know they got rid of that. I thought that was. When did they get rid of that?
that would have been just before this last season. So it was considered ageist.
Omari. Hey, you know what? I'm usually against this like weird, like ageist, everything's whatever. But it's working in my favor now. So now, yeah, you're right. It is ageist. Omari, what do you think, man? You want to become Guelph Griffins? What do you guys call Griffins?
Guelph Griffins.
Yeah. Omari, hey, whole new podcast audience too.
Yeah, maybe. I did not know they changed. I didn't know they changed the eligibility there.
This is actually insane to me that I'm like just learning this on air, live on a podcast. I guess we're
I
not
will
live.
say, any organized football that you do play after the age of 20 does count towards eligibility, though.
Oh, well, then I'm screwed.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So men's league takes away our eligibility. Oh,
I believe it does after the age of 20.
And junior then, I guess, yeah, because I played
Junior
junior
does
after
too.
the age of 20. Damn
So
it!
how it works
I
out,
had
if you play 5 years of junior, you have 2 years of eligibility left because the first 2 years don't count because you're under 20, and then those final 3 would start to cut in. But there's no
Right,
age cap.
right. Well, I'm gonna look into the finer details of these rules because maybe I'll see if I can get into the U of A. Guelph's kind of far away, and I like my life here. So, oh man, I was thinking about retiring from football literally like 3 weeks ago, and now I'm talking about going to play university. I don't know what this world's coming to, but YOLO, life's short, all that stuff.
Hey, dude, go for it. Go for it. We almost got a lineman on our team last year who was 27. It didn't end up working out, but it almost did. So.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Omari can attest to this. I take really good care of my body, and honestly, I look younger than most of those university guys, so I'd fit right in.
You're giving me a lot of green flags here, Tej.
Yeah, I'll send you my tape. I got some good tape too.
I love it.
Oh, good. Omari, you got anything else for Nate before we close out?
No. I think that's everything that we wanted to answer. I definitely feel we got some great value for a lot of our high school audience and in that recruiting season. Only thing left I want to add is, Nate, how can the kids reach out to you? Get their film and tape. I want to plug yourself as the recruiter, and I know you sold the school there, but yeah, take it away. And anything you want to add on that front?
Yeah, no, I think just a little plug. So the best way that I prefer to be reached out to is on X, formerly known as Twitter. You can find me under Nate Kettles. And I'll be honest, I watch every tape of every kid that ever gets sent to me. I can guarantee that. So I can't guarantee opportunities, but I can always guarantee that I'll take a look. So that's the best way to reach out to me. Yeah, but I explore too that when you do reach out to coaches, make sure you do a little background, make sure you know a little bit about who you're talking to, what you're looking for. There's a lot of guys where it's like, coach, check out my tape. And then I'll be like, hey, what do you want to take in school? And they're like, I don't know. And it's like, well, you should maybe think about that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's my plug. The other thing is, for any of these high school guys who are listening, we got something kind of brewing right now here at the University of Guelph. We're planning on doing an identification camp in Red Deer in April.
Oh, wow.
So really looking forward to that. It has not been officially announced yet. There has been no post. There's not like an online register link yet or anything like that. But for anyone who is, just watch out for that. So we're going to be coming down to Alberta pretty soon here and inviting out the best of the best to compete, do some testing, do some one-on-ones. So I'm looking forward to that. But that date will be announced. Follow Griffin Football if you're interested in that. All announcements like that will be on Griffin Football on our social media accounts. So
I'll definitely follow that. And if you get word of that beforehand, before you release it, if you wouldn't mind just sending that to me in our little Facebook group there, that'd be great. Because I'm in Sylvan Lake, which is 20 minutes away from Red Deer, and
love to meet you.
I know, yeah, I'd love to come out and just kind of like watch what that's all about and meet you. And I've got some kids that I would love to bring out to that as well. So
great.
Yeah, that'd be great. So yeah, if you could keep me updated on that, maybe give me a little sneak peek before everyone else knows, because that'd be sweet.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to have people out. So,
and then let us know what we can do on the marketing front there once it's official. I know, I guess you guys are still figuring things out. Once it becomes official, let us know, we can help market that for you, and anything to help these kids get to the next level. And I mean, end of the day, I'd love to have a story happen where a kid who's grade 12 doesn't get recruited, goes to one of these camps, attracts attention, gets that that look that he needed, and has his grades organized and says, hey, we got camp starting here in a couple days. Can you make it out? And then the grade, this 18-year-old kid who just finished high school is off to Guelph. I love a story like that, which would be very heartwarming.
Hey, I love a story. Here's the truth. We're looking for the best. Doesn't matter where they're from. We don't discriminate. If you're better, if you're going to be better than guys on our roster, if you're going to compete and you're willing to learn, like, we'll take better no matter where you're from. So, well, that's just understand that when it comes to the University of Guelph, like, you truly are competing against everyone across the country. So make sure you come ready. That's all I want to say.
Yep. No, that's great. It's one of those things where these things are hard, right? Like, it's hard to make a university football team, and that's why it takes such hard work and effort and intense focus and concentration and all the little minor details, which is why I really appreciate you coming on here, Nate, and kind of diving into some of the more little things that you guys look for that, I know I try to preach as a coach to my guys and that I coach, and just understanding that it's not, everybody, everyone who's played football for the most part has a big, couple big fancy plays, but not everyone has, a lot of super effort plays or selfless plays or, the closing speed and all the little things you talked about. So I appreciate you putting that out there for kids, and I hope they take that seriously and take some time to learn how to really put together a solid highlight tape. Don't take it for granted. Don't rush through it. It's kind of an art piece, and I know it should be done well and but also to the point and without any kind of like unnecessary information. So I appreciate you, Nate. That it was great to have a chat with you. We'd definitely love to have you on again, maybe when you announce that camp, and we can kind of plug that for you here. I know that'll be filled with people. I can imagine I'm going to get messages already about people that are interested in that when they hear this podcast. So thank you a lot, Nate, and I hope to meet you one day soon, and I'm sure we'll talk soon as well.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on here. I love that you guys are doing this. I love that you guys are pushing and getting word out to both men's league and high school football in Alberta. It deserves it. There's good football players in Alberta, and they deserve to be heard. So I appreciate you guys doing this and inviting me on and giving me the chance to talk. It's what I love to do. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Omari, last word and send us out, please.
Yeah. Hey, Nate. Appreciate you again, and we'll definitely be in touch here soon. And hopefully all the kids got some value there. For those who tuning in, appreciate everyone listening in. With this now, I guess this, I won't say marks the end of high school as of right now as we transition to men's, but we always want to make sure we get a lot of value for our listeners here. You can catch us here on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. You'll see this on YouTube here with some teasers and all that. Like, share, subscribe. We're looking to get this out, and stay tuned for the potential Guelph ID camp here that comes up, and we look forward to providing you some value here. All right, always drink your water, eat your veggies, eat your vitamin D. For those of you in school, hopefully you guys did well in your exam session here, and for those on the AFL side, hey, it's gearing up to be another hot season here for us for 2024. So with that being said, take care, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Nate. Thanks, Omari. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, take care.
Take care.